Uranium is a naturally occurring element. It is found in rocks, soil, and water across the globe. This heavy metal, identified by the symbol U on the periodic table, possesses a unique property: nuclear instability. This instability is the key to its immense power. Certain isotopes of uranium, particularly uranium-235, can undergo fission. Fission is a process where the nucleus of an atom splits, releasing a significant amount of energy. This characteristic makes uranium a focal point in discussions about both energy generation and international security, a truly double-edged sword in the hands of humanity. Understanding its nature is crucial to grasping current global challenges. The primary importance of uranium lies in its ability to fuel nuclear reactors. These reactors harness the energy released from controlled nuclear fission. This process generates heat, which then produces steam to drive turbines and create electricity. Nuclear power offers a significant advantage. It produces very low greenhouse gas emissions during operation. This makes it an attractive option for countries seeking to reduce their carbon footprint and combat climate change. However, the same fundamental properties that allow uranium to light up cities also enable it to be used in the creation of incredibly destructive nuclear weapons, a reality that necessitates careful oversight and international cooperation. To be useful in most reactors or for weapons, uranium ore must undergo a complex process called enrichment. Natural uranium primarily consists of uranium-238, which is not easily fissionable. The more reactive uranium-235 isotope makes up only about 0.7% of natural uranium. Enrichment increases the concentration of uranium-235. For nuclear power plants, uranium is typically enriched to contain between 3 and 5% uranium-235. This is known as low-enriched uranium, or LEU. This level is sufficient for sustained, controlled nuclear reactions for energy production, but is not suitable for nuclear weapons, which require a much higher concentration of this fissile material. The journey from raw uranium ore to usable fuel is a meticulous and technologically demanding one. It involves mining, milling to extract uranium oxide, also called yellow cake, conversion into uranium hexafluoride gas, and then the enrichment process itself, often using centrifuges. Each step requires specialized knowledge and equipment. The higher the enrichment level, the more suitable the uranium becomes for military applications. This is why the international community closely monitors enrichment activities in non-nuclear weapon states. The distinction between peaceful nuclear energy programs and potential weapons development often hinges on the level and scale of uranium enrichment, making it a critical point of contention. The International Atomic Energy Agency, commonly known as the IAEA, serves as the world's central intergovernmental forum for scientific and technical cooperation in the nuclear field. Established in 1957 as an autonomous organization within the United Nations system, its headquarters are in Vienna, Austria. The IAEA's core mission is multifaceted. It works to promote safe, secure, and peaceful uses of nuclear science and technology. A critical part of this mission is its role as the global nuclear watchdog, verifying that nuclear materials and facilities are not diverted from peaceful purposes to military applications, particularly nuclear weapons. This verification role is essential for upholding the International Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. To fulfill its verification responsibilities, the IAEA implements safeguards agreements with member states. These agreements grant the agency the authority to conduct inspections of nuclear facilities. IAEA inspectors are highly trained experts who visit declared nuclear sites to verify records kept by the state, take environmental samples, and install surveillance equipment. Their objective is to ensure that countries are adhering to their international commitments not to misuse nuclear technology. The agency reports its findings to its Board of Governors and, in cases of non-compliance or serious concern, to the UN Security Council. This reporting mechanism is vital for maintaining transparency and accountability in the global nuclear landscape. The IAEA's work extends beyond just safeguards and inspections. It also plays a significant role in fostering the peaceful application of nuclear technologies in areas such as medicine, agriculture, industry, and water management. The agency provides technical assistance and training to developing countries, helping them harness the benefits of nuclear science for sustainable development. This dual role, promoting peaceful uses while preventing proliferation, requires a delicate balance. It underscores the agency's commitment to ensuring that nuclear energy serves humanity constructively, rather than posing a threat through the spread of nuclear weapons. This comprehensive approach is crucial for building global confidence in nuclear activities. In recent years, the IAEA's attention has been intensely focused on several key regions, including Iran, Its reports on Iran's nuclear program are closely watched by governments worldwide, as they provide critical, independent assessments of the country's activities. These reports detail aspects such as uranium enrichment levels, stockpile sizes, and cooperation with IAEA inspectors. The information provided by the IAEA forms the basis for international diplomatic efforts and policy decisions concerning Iran's nuclear ambitions. The agency's credibility and impartiality are therefore paramount, as its findings can have profound implications for international peace and security, influencing global responses and diplomatic strategies. The most recent quarterly report from the International Atomic Energy Agency, released in late May 2025, has sent ripples of concern across the international community. This confidential document, circulated among IAEA member states, paints a troubling picture of Iran's expanding nuclear activities. According to the findings, Iran has significantly increased its stockpile of uranium enriched to high levels. This development is particularly alarming because it moves Tehran closer to possessing material for nuclear weapons. The report underscores a continued trend of Iran stepping up its nuclear program in ways that challenge international norms and previous agreements. A key highlight of the report, which has caused considerable unease, pertains to uranium enriched up to 60% purity. The IAEA revealed that Iran's stockpile of this near-weapons-grade material has grown substantially since its previous report in February 2025. This specific enrichment level is a major concern because it is just a short technical step away from weapons grade. The agency noted that Iran is the only non-nuclear weapon state to produce uranium enriched to such a high level. This unique status amplifies worries about Iran's rapidly advancing nuclear capabilities. IAEA Director General Rafael Mariano Grossi did not mince words when commenting on the situation. He warned that Tehran now possesses enough uranium enriched to near weapons-grade levels to potentially produce several nuclear bombs if it chose to enrich the material further. This stark assessment from the head of the world's nuclear watchdog adds significant weight to the concerns. The report details not only the quantities, but also the pace of production, suggesting an acceleration in Iran's enrichment activities. Such an acceleration raises questions about Iran's declared peaceful purposes, especially when such highly enriched material has limited civilian applications at this scale. Beyond the stockpile increases, the IAEA report also touched upon Iran's cooperation, or lack thereof, regarding long-standing investigations into undeclared nuclear material found at several sites. A separate, more comprehensive 22-page report requested by the IAEA Board of Governors stated that Iran's engagement on these issues has been less than satisfactory. This ongoing lack of transparency regarding past activities, coupled with the current surge in enrichment, creates a deeply unsettling picture for international observers. Director General Grossi reiterated his urgent call upon Iran to cooperate fully and effectively, signaling that significant unresolved issues persist, further complicating an already tense situation. The May 2025 IAEA report provides precise figures that illustrate the scale of Iran's nuclear advancements. As of mid-May 2025, Iran's total stockpile of enriched uranium, across all enrichment levels, stood at a significant 9,247.6 kilograms, which is over 20,387 pounds. This represents an increase of 953.2 kilograms, or more than 2,100 pounds, since the IAEA's previous report in February 2025. This substantial jump in just a few months highlights the accelerated pace at which Iran is producing enriched uranium, a material that can be used for civilian nuclear power and at higher enrichment levels for nuclear weapons. The sheer volume of the stockpile is a concern in itself. The most worrying aspect for international observers is the quantity of uranium enriched to 60% purity. The IAEA reported that Iran has amassed 408.6 kilograms, nearly 901 pounds, of this highly enriched uranium. This is a dramatic increase of 133.8 kilograms, almost 295 pounds, or nearly 50%, since the February 2025 report, which had documented a stockpile of 274.8 kilograms. Uranium enriched to 60% is very close to weapons grade, which is typically defined as uranium enriched to 90% uranium-235. The technical steps required to move from 60% to 90% are relatively straightforward compared to the effort needed to reach 60% from natural or low-enriched uranium. Experts estimate that approximately 42 kilograms of uranium enriched to 60% is theoretically enough material to produce one atomic bomb, provided it is further enriched to 90%. Based on this estimate, Iran's current stockpile of 408.6 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium could potentially yield enough weapons-grade material for several nuclear devices. This calculation is a stark reminder of Iran's growing breakout capacity, the theoretical time it would take to produce a nuclear weapon if it made the political decision to do so. The IAEA Director General's statement that Iran has enough for several bombs directly reflects this alarming arithmetic. This rapid accumulation of highly enriched uranium has no credible civilian justification, according to many Western officials and nuclear experts. While Iran maintains its program is peaceful, the production of such large quantities of 60% enriched uranium far exceeds any stated needs for research reactors or medical isotope production. This discrepancy fuels suspicions that Iran is, at the very least, positioning itself to be able to quickly produce nuclear weapons if it chooses. The IAEA itself has called the production of such material by a non-nuclear weapon state a serious concern, highlighting the precariousness of the current situation and the challenge it poses to the global non-proliferation regime. Iran consistently maintains that its nuclear program is exclusively for peaceful purposes. Officials in Tehran point to the country's energy needs and its desire to develop expertise in advanced nuclear technology for medical and industrial applications. A cornerstone of Iran's official position is a religious decree, or fatwa, issued by Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, which reportedly prohibits the development, production, stockpiling, and use of nuclear weapons. Iranian diplomats frequently cite this fatwa in international forums to underscore their commitment to a non-military nuclear path. They argue that their enrichment activities are within their rights under the Non-Proliferation Treaty, or NPT, to which Iran is a signatory. In response to the latest IAEA report from May 2025, Iran's foreign ministry and its Atomic Energy Organization issued strong condemnations. They characterized the report as, quote, unbalanced, inaccurate, and politically motivated. Tehran accused the IAEA of operating under pressure from Western powers, specifically naming the United States, the United Kingdom, France, and Germany. Furthermore, Iranian officials alleged that the agency was relying on falsified documents provided by Israel, a long-standing adversary. This narrative of external interference and biased reporting is a common theme in Iran's responses to international criticism of its nuclear activities, aiming to, well, discredit the findings of the watchdog. Iran also blames the current escalation on the United States' unilateral withdrawal from the 2015 nuclear deal, formerly known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or JCPOA, in 2018. Tehran argues that the reimposition of US sanctions and the failure of European signatories to provide the promised economic benefits of the deal forced Iran to scale back its compliance with the JCPOA's restrictions. From Iran's perspective, its increased enrichment activities are a justifiable response to these breaches and a means of gaining leverage for future negotiations. Iranian officials insist that any new agreement must include the complete lifting of all sanctions and guarantee Iran's right to maintain its nuclear program. Despite its official stance against nuclear weapons, some Iranian officials have, with increasing frequency, made statements suggesting that Tehran could reconsider its options if it feels existentially threatened. These more ambiguous comments have added to international anxieties. While the official policy remains rooted in the Supreme Leader's fatwa, the rhetoric from certain quarters within the Iranian establishment indicates a potential doctrinal shift, or at least a willingness to use the specter of weaponization as a deterrent or bargaining chip. This creates an environment of uncertainty regarding Iran's ultimate nuclear intentions, making the IAEA's verification role even more critical for global stability. The United States, under the current Trump administration, has been actively pursuing diplomatic avenues to reach a new deal with Tehran aimed at curbing its nuclear program. Several rounds of talks have reportedly taken place, though no concrete agreement has yet materialized. President Trump recently expressed a somewhat optimistic view, stating in late May 2025 that he still believes a deal could be finalized in the not-too-distant future. He added a characteristic remark, suggesting Iran would prefer a deal because they don't want to be blown up. This statement really underscores the administration's approach of combining diplomatic outreach with implicit threats, seeking to pressure Iran back to the negotiating table. In a significant revelation, President Trump also mentioned that he has urged Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to refrain from launching any preemptive military strikes against Iran's nuclear facilities. This request was made to allow more time for US diplomatic efforts to bear fruit. Meanwhile, US intelligence agencies maintain their assessment that while Iran has not yet commenced an active nuclear weapons program, it has undertaken activities that significantly enhance its capability to produce a nuclear device if it makes the strategic decision to do so. This nuanced assessment highlights the urgency of the situation, even if a direct dash for a bomb is not yet perceived as underway by American intelligence. Israel, which views Iran's nuclear program as an existential threat, has reacted with alarm to the IAEA's findings. Prime Minister Netanyahu's office issued a strong statement, calling the report a clear warning sign that Iran is totally determined to complete its nuclear weapons program. The statement emphasized that Iran's enrichment of uranium to 60% has no civilian justification whatsoever. Netanyahu made a rare public statement on the Jewish Sabbath, citing the urgency of the matter, and appealed to the international community to act now to stop Iran. This reflects Israel's long-held position that a nuclear-armed Iran is unacceptable and its willingness to consider all options to prevent it. European nations, particularly the E3, the United Kingdom, France, and Germany, are also deeply concerned. These countries were key signatories to the 2015 JCPOA and have been striving to salvage the deal or find a new diplomatic path. The comprehensive IAEA report on Iran's compliance, particularly regarding unresolved issues at undeclared sites, could provide a basis for further action. There is growing speculation that the E3 might consider triggering the snapback mechanism within the JCPOA framework. This would reinstate UN sanctions against Iran that were lifted under the 2015 deal. They have reportedly threatened to do so by August 2025 if no substantial US-Iran deal is reached, especially with the JCPOA's formal expiry looming in October 2025. A significant and persistent area of concern for the IAEA involves unresolved questions about nuclear material detected at several undeclared locations in Iran. These sites, including Turkcabad, Varamin, and Marivan, have been under IAEA investigation for years. Inspectors detected man-made uranium particles at these locations, suggesting past nuclear activities that Iran had not declared to the agency as required under its safeguards agreement. While Iran initially blocked access, it eventually allowed IAEA inspectors to collect samples from 2 of the locations in 2020. The March 2023 IAEA-Iran joint statement aimed to address these outstanding issues. But progress has been slow, with Marivan reportedly being the only site considered resolved. The IAEA's May 2025 comprehensive report, specially commissioned by its Board of Governors following a censure resolution in November 2024, concluded that Iran's cooperation has been less than satisfactory. The agency stated that Turkcabad, Varamin, and potentially other related locations were part of an undeclared structured nuclear program carried out by Iran until the early 2000s involving undeclared nuclear material. This conclusion is a serious one, as it points to a deliberate effort by Iran to conceal aspects of its nuclear activities from international scrutiny, undermining trust. Another location, known as Lavisantian, adds to the complexity. This site was reportedly razed and demolished by Iran after 2003, and IAEA inspectors never had the opportunity to visit it before its alteration. The IAEA has stated that the lack of answers regarding Lavisantian contributed to its conclusion about the past undeclared program. Western intelligence officials have long suspected that the uranium traces discovered at these sites could provide crucial evidence that Iran had a covert military nuclear program aimed at developing weapons technology up until at least 2003, a claim Iran vehemently denies. The ongoing impasse over these undeclared sites casts a long shadow over any current or future negotiations. Full transparency and cooperation from Iran in clarifying these past activities are seen as essential for building confidence and ensuring the peaceful nature of its program. IAEA Director General Rafael Grossi has repeatedly emphasized the need for Iran to provide technically credible explanations. As recently as May 28, 2025, IAEA Deputy Director General Massimo Aparo inspected 2 undeclared sites in Tehran province, likely Turkcabad and Varamin, indicating the continued focus on these unresolved issues. The fundamental reason for the intense global focus and anxiety surrounding Iran's uranium surge is the overarching fear of nuclear proliferation. If Iran were to develop and possess nuclear weapons, it would dramatically alter the strategic landscape of the Middle East and could have severe repercussions for global security. A nuclear-armed Iran could trigger a regional arms race, with other countries in the volatile Middle East potentially seeking their own nuclear deterrence. This scenario would significantly increase the risk of nuclear conflict, miscalculation, or accidental use, undermining decades of international efforts to prevent the spread of such devastating weapons. A key metric in assessing the immediate risk is Iran's breakout time. This term refers to the estimated time it would take for Iran to produce enough weapons-grade uranium for a single nuclear bomb, should it make the political decision to do so. With its rapidly growing stockpile of uranium enriched to 60%, a level very close to weapons grade, Iran's breakout time has shrunk considerably. While estimates vary, many experts believe it could now be a matter of weeks rather than months or years. This shrinking window for detection and response puts immense pressure on international diplomacy and intelligence agencies. The concerns extend beyond just the production of fissile material. Developing a deliverable nuclear weapon also requires mastering other complex technologies, including weaponization, designing and building the explosive device itself, and fitting it onto a suitable delivery system, such as a ballistic missile. While US intelligence assesses Iran has not yet started a full-fledged weaponization program, its advanced ballistic missile capabilities are well documented and add another layer of concern. The combination of advancing fissile material production and sophisticated missile technology presents a formidable potential threat if Iran were to cross the nuclear threshold. The international community, particularly through the IAEA and the UN Security Council, has long strived to ensure the exclusively peaceful nature of Iran's nuclear program. The 2015 JCPOA was a landmark attempt to achieve this through verifiable limits on Iran's nuclear activities in exchange for sanctions relief. Its erosion has reopened profound questions about how to manage Iran's nuclear ambitions. The fear is not just about Iran itself, but the precedent its potential acquisition of nuclear weapons might set, potentially weakening the entire global non-proliferation regime, which has been a cornerstone of international security for over half a century. The revelations from the IAEA's May 2025 report place the international community at a critical juncture, facing a complex array of potential future scenarios regarding Iran's nuclear program. One path involves intensified diplomatic efforts to revive negotiations or forge a new agreement. The Trump administration in the US has indicated a willingness to pursue a deal, but significant obstacles remain, including deep mistrust on both sides and differing visions of what an acceptable agreement would entail. For diplomacy to succeed, it would likely require concessions from all parties, addressing Iran's demands for sanctions, relief and economic guarantees, alongside robust verification measures to satisfy international concerns about its nuclear activities. Another potential avenue involves increased pressure on Iran, possibly through the reimposition of broader international sanctions. The European E3, the United Kingdom, France and Germany, have floated the possibility of triggering the snapback mechanism under the 2015 JCPOA, which would reinstate UN sanctions. This could occur before the deal's formal expiry in October 2025, particularly if no new diplomatic breakthrough is achieved. The upcoming IAEA Board of Governors meeting on June 9th and 10th, 2025 will be a key moment, potentially leading to a new resolution censoring Iran or referring the matter to the UN Security Council, which could then consider further punitive measures. However, sanctions alone have historically had mixed results in altering Iran's calculus. The specter of military conflict, while a least desired outcome, cannot be entirely dismissed. Israel has repeatedly stated it will not allow Iran to obtain nuclear weapons and has a history of taking preemptive action against perceived existential threats. While the US has urged restraint, the continued advancement of Iran's nuclear program, especially if it appears to be on an irreversible path to weaponization, could escalate tensions to a point where military options are more seriously considered by some nations. Iranian military leaders are also preparing for potential strikes, as evidenced by recent air defense exercises near key nuclear sites like Fordo, highlighting the dangerous potential for miscalculation. Ultimately, the future trajectory of this crisis will depend on a delicate interplay of diplomacy, deterrence, domestic politics within Iran and key international powers, and Iran's own strategic decisions. The world is watching closely, understanding that the implications of Iran's uranium surge extend far beyond its borders. Finding a sustainable, peaceful resolution that addresses both Iran's right to peaceful nuclear energy and the international community's legitimate security concerns is one of the most pressing challenges of our time. The events unfolding are not merely about uranium kilograms. They are about regional stability, global non-proliferation norms, and the collective pursuit of a more secure world for future generations.